how much music discovery do you three think goes on in games at the moment? And do you think it can, or is it actually, a better question is, do you think gaming is actually on the same level for music discovery as some of these other platforms right now? Cybele, let's start with you.
So yeah, I mean, I think, for a long time it was just radio and, not just BBC, but like terrestrial radio everywhere else, and that was it. You had K-Rock if you lived in LA or, whatever, based on your style of taste in music. And so from the very, very beginning, Steve and I started at EA right around the same time. He was first and then I came right after him. And so we both came from an A&R background, as did Alex. And so, right away, we're just like, we're sitting on this platform, that we have rapt attention by all these kids for hours upon hours upon hours. Let's take advantage of that space, to introduce them to new bands. So that was what we wanted to do. And we continue to do from the very beginning. But I will say it's funny because in the beginning, the biggest comment with, especially a game like FIFA or Madden, because we would always drill down, dig deep, and get this music as early as we could. And Alex brought up a good point before where, it can burn out really, really quickly, especially today with the trajectory of commercial music is just so fast. So it's a lot of sort of getting in there early, finding unearthing these new bands. And for years in the beginning, people being the gamers would just go on, wherever, YouTube, or that didn't really exist yet, but their comments were always, I've never heard of one of these bands. You know what I mean? And they're like, where's my Jay-Z? Where's my AC/DC? To my point earlier. And now I think, people come to understand all of these games, are a really, really important platform to introduce new bands, because there is so many ways to hear new music right now. Like it's got to be impossible. You have everything from SoundCloud to DSPs to YouTube to everything else, and you don't need a major label behind you anymore to release music, which I find to be an incredibly interesting segue for a lot of these artists that can make this incredible music in their bedrooms. Especially during COVID. And I think that was one really, really positive thing that came out of the whole lockdown, which was horrible, but a lot of these bands were kind of stuck at home, so a lot of really interesting writing and a lot of really interesting music came out of that. So that's a very long-winded way to answer your question, but I do think it is a very important platform to, help these bands get discovered by the kids, because it's a perfect marriage, kids and music, right?
Joel, what's your view on that, I guess?
Well, I'm going to echo what Cybele said. It's a great way for people to really be immersed in music, and I think actually one of the coolest. I mean, there was an article that came out years ago that said TV is the new radio, and all of the music supervisor world celebrated. And we're like, hell yes! Now you guys are catching up, and games are the new TV. You know what I'm saying? And the reality too is that beyond what like this kind of like wide disbursement of music and being involved in this stuff, one of the coolest fucking aspects of interactive is that it can change. You can have a game where people are used to playing it, and if suddenly, like during a season in real life, maybe a player becomes like hugely popular, you could, if you wanted to, do an in-game kind of update where that player gets his own soundtrack, and there's a whole like album of music that'll play when that player is on, like his team is playing. You could change it if you wanted to. You could do an in-game update. You could do another whole thing, like again with Fortnite, where they have events, and you can bring music to more people than will ever listen to a terrestrial radio station, watching this and being exposed to a band in real life, and really kind of be able to participate in it. And it's, I think the potential is only really being scratched about how it can really be, really involved in interactive and kind of immersive in this. And I think that, again, it's such an exciting time, because I think that it's really starting to hit its stride about what it can do.
I think also the benefit that companies like Epic and games like Fortnite or games like League of Legends or World of Warcraft have is that they have a persistent online single experience, right? So I think that the experience is actually relatively narrow. It's just very, 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 very deep and persistent. So the ability to program iterative content or updatable content, because they're constantly updated the game as a function of the development cycle. There is no development cycle. It's just a persistent development cycle. You're able to do more of that product. And I think from publishers like EA and PlayStation and the rest, you're going to see more of those kinds of experiences moving forward. In the static or sort of seasonal based games that we do, I do mid-season updates for baseball. We do there'll be 5 or 6 original song updates throughout the course of Gran Turismo. That kind of stuff happens. It's just as a development protocol, it's almost reverse engineering how the work gets done. But in terms of music discovery and how people are doing stuff, I think all of the people for whom we work are looking to make the game experiences that we work on more sticky. And music is a big part of that.